Hey guys, Jengar here. Welcome to today's realistic review in which we are taking a look at the P-39Q-5 Aeracobra at 3.0 battle rating. Now this plane is absolutely magnificent and all that jazz, but when you're coming from flying 50 cals for a while and you're going to the 37, it is always a little bit of a tricky situation there for your aim. And I went through that in this match. This was the first match that I ever flew in this plane, by the way. I've flown a lot of Aeracobras and King Cobras, but not this one apparently. So when you look at the stats of this one, it is all from today for me. And it did very well for me. I went 28 kills to 1 death in, what was it again, 10 matches? I don't remember exactly, but I did very well in it. I flew a little bit with the squadron, but this actually was my first match jumping into it. And I was killing myself with the aim, man. I was so goddamn frustrated that halfway through the match I had a feeling like I was gonna throw something at the screen. But that being said, you have to pick yourself up at a certain point, focus, and continue to do the job. And I did that, and you'll see that as this game progresses, man. But yeah, but anyway, after this, very good performances, very steady Aeracobras, very good planes. I really like them, and they're very interesting. They're not the fastest plane though in the American rank too. There's a lot of 3.0, 3.3 planes that are faster, like the Corsair 1A, United States Marine Corps version, the the 1A on itself, and the P-38G1, for example, that we reviewed the other day, are all a good bit faster in a straight line, and also in a dive comparable or faster, although the P-38s are not faster. But this one in a dive is actually quite good compared to the P-38s. All in all, this is a plane that I really like. I got something in my throat, I don't know what it is. I just ate a cookie, but it probably that. God damn, man. Okay, the maximum speed in a straight line at sea level is 492 kilometers an hour without web, 506 with web. At 4,500 meters, still go up to 455 without web, 469 with. And finally, at 6,500 meters, you can take it to 403 without web and 404 with web. Now these speeds are in indicated airspeed without Mach. The web really isn't good at high altitudes. The Aeracobras really function best below 4,500 meters, where they can do extremely well if you can get the aim down and not get any hits. But I guess the IL-2, it can take a hit in the engine from a 37 and not give a sound there. But yeah, all in all, I was screwing around, man. Top speed in a dive though, 842 kilometers an hour before she red lines, and 880 plus before she rips apart. Now you dive down in this plane from 9,000 meters and you'll get to this 880-ish before you hit the waters. I did not reach 9,000 meters in my 2 attempts, one from 8,000, one from 9. And yeah, so what that says is that the acceleration slows down and the drag takes over at a certain point in the dive. It just starts to accelerate slower and slower, and you cannot reach that deathly speed, right? Control stiffening starts very late, so this plane has very good controls in the late end of the dive. 550 is the first point where your aileron compression starts to kick in. 700 is another tick, but it stays reasonably functional. The only thing is that it does roll off center from 670 onwards. So when you get to that point, rolling to adjust for a shot becomes more difficult because it starts to pull off center. And that's probably a rudder issue like many of the American planes have. And yeah, well, it is what it is. You're gonna have to deal with it. The stall speed in this plane lies in around 110 kilometers an hour. It does handle reasonably well at slower speed, so that's not too much of an issue. The firepower in this plane is great, really. I mean, you just have to fly it a lot to get that 37 under control, as I just didn't have it in the beginning. I shot almost all my shots. I got 1 kill before they ran out, I think. And after that it was just the 50 cals. which you do have a reasonable amount of, but not extremely much as well. It's just let's say slightly above average for the ammo loads on 2 guns, but the other guns you're running with the one 37mm M4 cannon with 30 rounds, and then you have these 50 cals, 4 of them M2 Browning machine guns with one pair having 200 rounds in the guns. That's the ones in the cowling, and the ones on the wings have 300 rounds per gun. You can also equip this plane with a 500-pound bomb or with 6 rockets, so you can have some options there for close air support, for ground RB, to equip this plane with some with a punch. And you have the 37, of course. Put the ground belt on that and you have a lot of AP rounds. Now, talking about belts and rounds, this plane runs with old belts for the 50 cals. So it doesn't have the modern belts like the Corsair, the United States Marine Corps version, or the P-39Q-5 G1. Those planes are running with the modern belts, or the later belts in the Second World War. This one has universal with AP, tracer and incendiary. You have the ground belt with 75% AP and 1 tracer shell. Then you have the tracer shell, that's the other way around, 75 tracer and 25 AP. And you have the stealth belt with 66% armor piercing and 33% incendiary. Now for the 37, you have the modern high explosive fragmentation incendiary tracer shells in the default. Default is not viable for the 50 cals, by the way, that has ball ammo in it. But unique, ground, tracer and stealth, you can all use them. Whatever has your liking. They are very similar when it comes to rounds, because it doesn't have the API rounds and almost no incendiary. So yeah, for the 37 you have the default, which has 1 half shell and 1 AP shell. You have the universal with 2 times half and 1 time AP, and then you have the air targets with only heavy tracer shells, and then the ground belt with only AP tracer shells. So I guess that's also personal preference. If you want to go ground pounding, you take the ground belt. If you want to go air targets, you would definitely take the air round with only the high explosive fragmentation incendiary tracer shell. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Universal and default really they don't function in the sense that you cannot predict anyway when the AP shell is going to fly out. So either you take the ground belt, in my opinion, or you take the air belt. That's your choices. Now for performance, in the acceleration, in a straight line is decent, in a dive it's good. You have very good energy retention both in the horizontal and in the vertical. The plane does perform, only the thing is it does have less performance than the planes that we reviewed before, like the Corsairs and the Lightnings. This plane is just not, doesn't have as great an engine as those planes, although it's not half bad. This plane has a decent climb rate, nothing terrible, nothing shiny either. It doesn't really excel in that, but it still has that very good energy retention, and the acceleration is nothing to complain about. So you need to gain a little bit of altitude in this plane and move your way down. When this plane has energy and is wound up, it is very, very difficult for people to catch an Aeracobra that is on fire. I mean, hot. You know what I mean, when the pilot is hot and the plane makes the plane hot as well, I guess. Anyway, turn time is above average, decent with flaps. The flaps only rip off at around 520 kilometers an hour, so that's alright, I guess, in a straight line. You do rip it off in a dive if you're not careful. What this guy is doing, I have no clue. Just try to stall me out, I guess. That's a good thing to do in Aeracobra, but you gotta make damn sure that you have the energy advantage and you're not facing another Aeracobra that has the same performance in the vertical as you do. Yes, and it's not that far below you. Mistake made. Roll rate average, and as I said, it does roll off center from 670 kilometers onwards. So yeah, it's going to be more difficult from that point to get the guns on target, but before that she has very good handling in a dive. Maneuverability overall is slightly above average. This plane has some overheating. It does overheat with webbing quite fast actually, but it also cools off quite easily when you get your fingers off the web, so not too much of a problem there. It's easily manageable. Then durability is good. It can take quite a bit of damage, and it's also quite decent in head-ons. Yes, it does have some armor in the front, and the engine isn't there, so you do not kill your engine in head-ons. On the other hand, when you get shot from behind, behind the pilot is where the engine is, and you have a much higher risk to get your engine damaged when you get shot from behind. So there's advantages to that, and there's also disadvantages to that. It's just your personal preference. Some people swear by the Aeracobras and the King Cobras, and I can definitely imagine why. The repair cost in this plane lies around 2,065 Silver Lions, which is below average, definitely not great. And the rewards in this plane, the RP modifier is 384%, Silver Lion is 165%. Now the RP modifier is very good, one of the better ones at this battle rating, and the Silver Lion one is actually below average. So this is a plane that doesn't make you a lot of money, doesn't make you a lot of Silver Lions, but it does research very nicely for the tree. So you can definitely use it for that. Just don't expect to make a lot of Silver Lions. So you gotta be decently good, also because that Silver Lion repair cost, is definitely below average there. So yeah, this plane is a boom and zoomer that can energy fight and close air support as well, with the presence of the 500-pound bomb and the 6 rockets and the 37. I mean, with the ground belt you have a lot of AP to shoot. You are definitely capable of doing a lot of damage to ground targets as well. So this plane is very versatile when it comes to that, can definitely play a dominant role in ground RB and in ground pounding if you want to use it for that. I personally, of course, as always, prefer to use it as a boom and zoomer and an energy fighter. You'll be doing a lot of stall maneuvers in this plane, but you do have to get the altitude, and the climb rate is not as spectacular as, for example, the P-39Q-5 with the air spawn, and the climb rate that is actually very good with that air start. This plane doesn't have that advantage, so you need a little bit more time to side climb and to get this plane into position. But if you do take that time and you position it correctly and you take your time, this plane is absolutely glorious. And once it is wound up, as I said, it can do a lot of damage to the enemy team, and it is very difficult to unwind. You would definitely actually have to make serious mistakes like turning, and you can keep this plane functional a lot by turning in the vertical, as I was doing in the first match. You see me, I rarely turn in the horizontal. It just loses you speed. When you go into the vertical, you regain altitude and you can pick up that speed again with the acceleration in the dive that is quite good. So this plane, yeah, I quite like it. But in the first match that you saw, man, if you're not used to that 37 and you're used to the 50 cals, you're gonna have to give yourself a little bit of time to get used to the 37, because oh my god, you will miss it a lot. And if you fly it a little bit more often, you will get better results, obviously. But there's still a little bit of RNG in that 37, a little bit of spread that is bigger than the 50 cals, and thus you will miss more. Not because of your own fault, also but because of that RNG that is involved there as well. Now let's see what we got for the rewards. Final blow, Hero of the Sky, Survivor, almost 50,000 Silver Lions and 16,000 research points. Hey guys, so here we are after the match. The Aeracobras are fantastic fun. The N0 is now at 2.7 battle rating. Ooh yes. And this Q5 is at 3.0 with some down tiers to 2.0. That is nothing to shy away from. I mean, these things perform very well. The 37 is a little bit of a challenge. I guess that is why this plane has dropped in battle rating, because most people do not choose to play this one when you have choices like the P40 or the Corsairs or the P38s or the P-51. There are so many choices in this rank 2 US 3 that why would you go for the Aeracobra? Well, it does have a lot of versatility. It has 450 cals. It has the bigger caliber gun that can be quite satisfying once you get the aim down. When you jump in it, you can still get results with the 50 cals, and by flying and resetting your mind, as I told you, that was quite... I was coming out of this match, that first match, a 6-kill match, with a feeling that I had a crap match. And I did for a part. Just managed to correct it at the end, but that's interesting. That makes you, you know, makes you develop as a pilot. Just to keep your patience, just keep going. But this plane is definitely a challenge when it comes to that. The 37 is not easy to shoot with regularly and good and consistently. Thus, maybe is a little bit less favored by many people, and that's why it's been dropped in battle rating. But it has plenty of good stuff. It has decent speed. It's very good in a dive. One of its strengths, handling in a dive, is fantastic. A lot of firepower. Great as an energy fighter. Boom and zooming in it is fun. It does roll off center at the lower ends, but that's very late at 670. So you have some bombs, you have some rockets. It's a good plane, man, and definitely worth consideration. It's a shame about those belts, man. They are old belts, and yeah, they don't hold up to the later belts. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button, become part of this community. If you are already a subscriber, don't forget to like the video, do leave me a comment, and if you really feel like helping out today, make sure to share the video with your friends and let them know about the channel.